ॐ शन्नो मित्रः शं वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 यतो वाचो निवर्तन्ते अप्राप्य मनसा सह आनन्दं ब्रह्मणो विद्वान् न बिभेति कदाचनेति. This is where we are in the text. This mantra is repeated twice. And why we will see in a bit. But it's repeated twice with a small little twist. The first iteration of it, and there's just one word that is different basically. So the first iteration of it, it says, Na bibheti kadachana iti. Never is the person afraid. Kadachana. Kadachana means at any time. Generally, always feeling protected. Protected means there must be a protector, correct? And who is that? Ishvara. So this Ishvara Buddhi is there, and this is the prasada of Manomaya Upasana. Upasana means what? Upasana means this meditation. Meditation. See, in every level we are having meditation, correct? So we had Annamaya Upasana, and then what was the prasada of Annamaya Upasana? What was the good result? Who remembers? That you cannot forget, really. It's unforgettable.
Food always be food.
More than one answer comes. Everybody speaks at the same time because it is a very primal thing. Food, one is surrounded by food. Absolutely correct. Yes. When you see me next, you get a healthy food item. All right. So that is what we'll plan. And for answering correctly. Then we saw Pranan Deva Anuprananti Manushya Pashamaschaye Prano hi bhutanam ayuhu. Like this, when you do pranamaya upasana. See, upasana doesn't mean you just contemplate upon food or prana. No. Food as Brahman. Prana as a stand-in for Brahman. That is the upasana. Okay. And so that is when that upasana is done, then what happens? What is the result of pranam Brahma? Pranamaya is Brahma. Brahman iti upasana. What is the result? What happens?
One will
You live
live
up to
longer.
the allotted
Long.
lifespan.
Yeah, this also people remember. But this is in keeping with everybody's desire. Of course, one should not be bedridden, and if as long as one is not bedridden, one would like to live a full life. Whatever has been allotted to one by Bhagavan, one would not like to cut it short. One would like to live a full life. So this is the prasada of pranamaya upasana. Now we are coming to Manomaya Upasana. And before that, since we have not met for a couple of weeks, so it is important to recall. What should we recall? What is Manomaya? M for Manomaya. You know, and what is this Manomaya? It is Vrityatmaka. See, two, three, what's a quick primer, okay? Quick cliff notes on Manomaya. So, one is it's Vrityatmakam. Vrityatmakam means it is in the form of vrittis. What are vrittis? Thoughts. It is in the form of thoughts. Okay, Manomaya is in the form of thoughts. Obviously, because it has to do with Manaha, it has to do with the mind. It is the mental world. And the mental world is nothing but a mantle of thoughts. Okay. And so this is this is what it is. So Manomaya is Vrityatmaka and in the form of thoughts. What kind of thoughts? Did I lock the door? Did I forget my keys? Did I turn off the stove? Oh, this person is an idiot. These kinds of thoughts. No. Veda is the form of we thoughts. But why? I mean, I hardly think of the Vedas. In fact, these are the thoughts that crowd my mind. Who thinks of Veda? In fact, if you go and ask somebody in Sweden, they may never have heard of Veda. They may never even know what it is. So, what are you saying? My head is full of Veda. Your head individually is not full of Veda, but if we look at the Veda closely, mm, the whole of it, it is, we know it is divided into two parts, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda, but we take it here together. Vedatmaka Manomaya is Vedatmaka in the form of the vritti, in the form of various vrittis. Now, why? How? Well, just to recall, why means because are when you are really present, these are not the thoughts. When you are one with yourself, these are not the thoughts you would like to entertain. What is the thoughts you would like to entertain? Lofty thoughts, thoughts that are emotionally mature, spiritually refined, thoughts that show some growth. That is the thoughts. And so the Veda is in the form of a thought. Even the Karma Kanda is in the form of the thought, in the form of injunctions. Do this, don't do this. That's still in the form of a thought before even if you say, do not eat meat, kalanjam na bhakshaye. Even if you say that, first the eating of the meat is in the form of the thought, then that thought is being negated. So even the first portion is in the form of the thought, and of course the celebrated Upanishads, aka the last portion of the Veda, also in the form of vrittis, mental formations, vrittis transmitted from the head of the guru to the ear of the student, and from the ear it goes to the head of the student. And so from teacher to student, this Vrityatmaka that is what the Veda is. And so since it is the final thought, before all the thoughts don't really matter. After one becomes a jnani, the thoughts are just thoughts, that you don't identify with them. So the last thought that you identify with is what is the culmination called Manomaya. The last thought is I am Brahman iti thought. Oh, but the Jnani also thinks I am Brahman. No, the Jnani knows I am Brahman. And then the Jnani revels in that knowledge. Okay, so it's not a thought separate from the Jnani. This is what we have to understand. But for the Jnani wannabe, the one that is receiving this knowledge, then for that person, it is transmitted in the form of a thought, vritti. Actually, vritti and thought, they are not exact translation. It is received in the form of the vritti, it is transmitted in the form of the vritti. What kind of vritti? Akhandakara vritti. That thought that puts an end to all thoughts as separate from oneself, or as well, something that one is identifying with some nonsensical vrittis. So the final thought, the real thought, the only thought that one needs to have is that I am Brahmaniti. That is why Manomaya is Vrityatmaka and Vedatmaka. There will be a quiz on it in the next class. Okay. So, and we have discussed this in great detail with all the akshepas and the samadhanas. So, this is just a short, brief rendition of, I think, two weeks worth or 3 weeks worth, however long we have been in this Manomaya. Now, the prasada of this upasana is being pointed out. Oh, how can you say that this is an upasana? Well, because this is what it is. But it doesn't say it's an upasana. It doesn't. But the prasada is given. The upasanayaha phalam is given. Upasana phalam is given. From that we understand that one is supposed to contemplate upon the manomaya as what? As Hiranyagarbha, as Bhagavan, as Ishvara in the form of a potential. Like the thought is always in the form of a potential to action. So it is a precursor of action. That is on the level of the Vyashti, and again on the level of the Samashti. Same thing. The Hiranyagarbha is the power of Ishvara, like that Maya Shakti. But the Maya Shakti endowed Ishvara as a potential to create is called Hiranyagarbha. And so this Hiranyagarbha has not done anything, but again it is in the form of the thought. And then again it will be talked about later. So kamayat bahusyam praja gegeti, like this. And so saha akamayat, this great being, this Bhagavan, contemplated, desired. The desire is also a potential. All this, Hiranyagarbha, in that form, it is on the samashti level. And same thing here also on all the levels. We saw this in Annamaya also. The food I eat, which is doing pushti karna, which is nourishing this body, vyashti, individual level, and the same thing collective. Collective is what? Food is from the earth, and the earth is Bhagavan. Food is Bhagavan, and the food is Brahman, and the food is an incarnation of Brahman, and the body is which is born of food, sustained by food, goes back to food, is is Brahman also. What do you mean goes back to food? Well, if the person is buried, and then what? Many generations later, then you grow some, what is that? You grow some brinjals on that in that area many generations later. And then what? We are eating the foremothers and forefathers. This is what it is. The person has gone, the person's body has gone to nourish the earth, and then um, has participated in producing more food. So, like this, that is the samashti level. And then in prana also, my own prana, breathing, not breathing, hyperventilating, all these things, that is the prana. Then the samashti prana, again in the form of Ishvara, goes back to the five elements, Vayu, etc. And then, and so this is again Vyashti Samashti. And in Manomaya also we have Vyashti and Samashti, as we just saw. So this Hiranyagarbha at the level of the at the level of the collective mind, and of course there is the individual mind. And as I have told many times before, the individual mind, the only thing to say is never mind. That is the individual mind. And then the individual mind is not outside of the collective mind. This is what we have to understand. And so let us look at this little bit here. So Atharvangirasa Pucham Pratishtha, that we have seen, why it is Pucha, tail of that Manomaya bird, Atharva and Angirasa. And then this is because Atharva and Angirasa were celebrated uh, sages, rishis in the lineage, and so they are being lauded as the foundation of this Manomaya bird. Okay, so Atharvena Angirasa cha. Why not Angirasena? Because it is Angiras. Okay, so Angirasa cha Drishta, Drishta. Drishtaha mantraha. These mantras which are seen, they are revealed to Atharva and Angiras. That's why it becomes the Pucha, the tail of the bird. And then what is the result of what kind of mantras are given? Shantika, Paustika mantra. And Shantika means that which gives a calmness, Prayasthita, so that which erases any guilt and hurt in the mind. That is called Shantika mantra. And then Paushtika mantra is for that, for health and other things, etc. So these are all there in the Atharva Veda. That's why it is. This is what it is. And then so this is how we have to understand this. So then what? So then we have tadapyesha shloko bhavati manomayatma prakashakah iti पूर्ववत् तदप्येष श्लोको भवति. This repeats itself. And again, each time it repeats itself, it refers to that particular maya, in which section we are, in which locus of error we are. That is what it refers to. Here, tadapi esha shloko bhavati means manomaya atma prakashakah, that which lights up the manomaya. Esha shlokaha means mantraha. So this esha shlokaha mantraha bhavati. This mantra is there. Where? Tasmin manomaya koshe. Tasmin vishaye. Manomaya kosha vishaye. Ayam shlokaha bhavati. So this shloka is there pertaining to manomaya, and it throws light upon the manomaya. It's called manomaya prakashakaha. And then, so it is, what is Manomaya? Now, Manomaya Atma is Satchidananda Atma in the form of Manomaya. That we have to remember. It's not that, oh, Manomaya is a pitfall, it's a locus of error, because only partially we retain. And then it is a locus of error. So what? We have to get away from Manomaya. There is no getting away from Manomaya. There is only Ishwarizing Manomaya, and the first level of that is in the form of a Upasana. Seeing Manomaya as Ishvara, both at the Samashti level of the total and the Vyashti level of the individual. That is what is there, nothing else. And so, Manomaya, let us not forget, is not some mind with a thought in it. It is, what is it? It is the Satchidananda Atma. Satchidananda Atma alone is Manomaya, in the form of Manomaya. And then, so then we have this mantra which I just chanted. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasah anandam brahmano vidvan na vibheti kadachana iti. What is very interesting is that Adi Shankara is kind of mum on this mantra. Why? Because it is going to repeat itself. Here, na bibheti kadachana iti, and elsewhere little later, na bibheti kutaschana iti. Kadachana means at any time. Kutaschana means from any source, from any other source. So at any time means there is still a duality there. There is the duality of time, there is a duality of space, and there is the main glaring duality of Vyashti and Samashti. What is the Vyashti Samashti duality? I am an individual and I am separate from everything else, and then I am here and I am having these thoughts and these thoughts should go away, and then I should be one with everything, etc., etc., etc. This is the individual. The crying individual, the individual who is upset, the individual who is alienated, and the one who feels completely cast off from everything else, alienated from the Jagat, alienated from the world, alienated from other jivas, and then ajivas means other people, alienated from the oneself, alienated from God, Ishvara. And so this is the manifold alienation. And this is the person who is saying, I'm suffering from all this alienation. And alienation and separation are the cause of fear. Dvaitabdhi bhayam bhavati. So na bibheti means, kadachana means, the sources of fear are there. But at any time the person is not afraid. You see, this is a very interesting understanding. Sources of fear haven't gone. No, they haven't gone at all. They are there. You look to the here, then look to the left, the shark of samsara, and look to the right, the riptides of what is that? The riptides of raga dveshas. And then you look ahead, there is the seaweed of dysfunctional and toxic connections. and then you look in the back, there is something which is opening its jaws wide. We don't know. Some kind of a thing waiting to swallow. All these things are there. But still the person is unafraid. Why is the person unafraid? Person is unafraid because that person who is mano brahma iti yaha upaste, and the one who, the one who the one who uh, contemplates upon Brahman as Manomaya in the form of Manomaya, what happens? That person is not afraid. This is the prasada. This is the prasada means what? This is the gift of this particular understanding the mind. Understanding the mind means what? Oh, I take a course in the Jungian psychology. Well, I'm sure that would be helpful, but that is not what is being talked about here. So, I advocate, of course, for everybody in Jungian psychology, no problem there at all. But here, understanding the mind means understanding that my mind, which is the source of pain, sorrow, and fear, is not outside of all minds, is not outside of the collective mind, which is a manifestation of Ishvara. That everything that I'm afraid of is included in this Ishvara. And so, therefore, if anything comes to get me, whether it's a cockroach or a shark and every other thing in between, I feel protected. I feel a palpable protection because of my connection to Ishvara in the form of Hiranyagarbha, a mindless mind that minds all minds. Okay, if that makes sense. Ishvara himself doesn't have a mind, himself, herself. There is no him or her, nothing. So Ishvara doesn't have a mind. And it is just knowledge and possibilities, and in the form of a vast order. Ishvara has no antakarana. That's why there is no fear, no sorrow. So that same consciousness, which is Ishvara, which is unbound, which is whole, which is everywhere, which is all pervasive, is here in this supposedly miserable body and this mind that about which I have many complaints. It's that same consciousness, and the one who knows this is not afraid at any time. That is different from when this mantra is expressed again. Na bibheti kutaschana iti. Kutaschana we are going to see from any other source. So here in the first instance, The cause for fear is still there. Cause for fear is duality. Duality has not been conquered through understanding. I am everything is not yet understood. But the duality is sublated because I have immersed myself into Ishvara, into Bhagavan. I have Bhagavanized the universe through this, the portal of the mind. I have Bhagavanized my Ishvarized my own mind. I have Ishvarized the entire universe. And so, in the form of the mind that minds all minds, itself mindless. This is the prasad, that there is no fear. But in the next instant, when this mantra is going to be repeated with a small difference, that small difference is not really small, it is in fact all. So kutaschana means there is no other source to be afraid of, to be afraid of. Fear comes from there being two things, that one thing should be other than me. There is no other. There is no other. There is nothing that is other than me. And so, since in even Ishvara, there is no need for any supplication, because this Bhagavan, this God, is not also away from me. Ishvara are not away from me. Sources of fear, just extensions of myself alone. So, therefore, when that knowledge is totally understood, that all that is there is just this one self evident, self luminous, or ever present, all pervasive, limitless, all knowledge consciousness. And all the things that I'm afraid of are more or less what? I mean, completely just iterations of this consciousness with various names and various forms. And that when the person knows there is no source of fear, therefore there is no fear. This is what the difference is. Now let us see this mantra in little more detail, this particular iteration. So here, yataha vachaha nivartante. Yataha means what? Brahman. But why is Brahman called yataha? Yataha means it is yasmat karana. Panchamyas tasil. This yataha is a pratyaya, the ta is tasihi, and it becomes taha. And so yataha means fifth case, from which. What is this which? Which means yasmat vastunaha sakashat. This is how we have to take. From which vastu. Vastu means thing. And there is only one thing in the whole entire universe that is worth being called a thing. Okay? Every other thing is what? Nothing. No thing. No plus thing. Nothing. There's only one thing that is worth being called a thing. Every other thing is not worth talking about. This is the teaching. So then, what is the life full of? Life is full of no things. And when no thing is made into the thing or a thing, then what happens? Samsara ensues. That's what happens. That is the cause of samsara. The cause samsara means some sorrow or another. That is samsara. Okay. And so the cause of samsara is when nothing is made into the thing. When the finite is made into something mistaken for the infinite. When the not I is mistaken for the I. And all the priorities are put into the not I, thinking it's I, into the finite, thinking it is infinite. And that is exactly why the sorrow is there. Sorrow is there because of this alone, no other is. And so, therefore, vastu means thing. That only thing that is worth being called a thing is is I. But see, in English, when you say thing, you know, we just we think of something inanimate, jada. This is the conditioning because of English. If you recall grammar lessons, first grade or second grade grammar lessons, you know, what is a noun? Name. What does the noun consist of? Name, place, animal, thing. this is how, this is how at least we had memorized. So animal and then thing. Thing means it's an inanimate object, but not so in Sanskritam. Sanskritam, there is no inanimate here. In fact, it is all knowledge. It is consciousness itself. Vastu, the only, we perhaps shouldn't call it a thing. Uh, it is an entity. The only entity that is existent. That is why every other thing is a no thing. Because all the other so-called things, entities, derive their existence from this alone. If this entity called Satchidananda Atma, aka Brahman, is existent, then all other entities are, because they depend upon this alone. For their very being, they depend on this. Just like a baby depends on the mother for its very existence, in the same way, all the things that we think are things, entities in the universe, other bodies, other minds, so many other things, objects, even all the way up to the five elements. They are all there. Why are they there? Because Satchidananda Atma lends its existence to all of them, lends its spurti, sentience to all of them. Otherwise, they are not there. Otherwise, it is not possible at all. So, all other things depend on this alone. That's why this alone is called entity. All other things are depending upon this. So they have really no being other than this. Just like even the ornament totally depends upon gold. The shine of the ornament does not belong to the ornament, it belongs to gold. The weight of the ornament does not belong to the ornament, it belongs to gold. Then what is the ornament? It is ornamental, that's all. It's just got a name. It's got a form called bangle, called earring, nose ring, thumb ring. Okay, that's all it is. Chain, bangle. It's got so many names. So many names it has, and form, that's all. Name and form alone belong to all the things that in the universe that one falls in love with repeatedly, only to be disappointed again and again and again. And just like the pot cannot live without clay. Oh, but I have seen pots made of plastic. Doesn't matter. I mean, here it cannot live without the substantive. That's what we mean here. Just like the pot cannot live without clay because it doesn't have any existence. Pujya Swamiji used to say something wonderful. He would say, he would hold up the pot and say, oh, I see only clay. If you see pot, please come and get the pot from my hand and leave the clay for me. Can you do that? No. Nobody would go up to get the pot, pry the pot from his hands because he had a condition. Take the pot by all means, but leave the clay. If you leave the clay, then what is there? Nothing is there. That is the idea. This is exactly how it is with Brahman and the universe, with Ishvara and the universe. This is exactly how it is. There is no other presence other than Satchidananda Atma, also known as Brahman, and then all the other things, so to speak, are so many incarnations, manifestations of that other. Everything is Ishvara, but Ishvara is not any one thing. Like all ornaments are gold, but gold is not any single ornament. Chain is gold, but gold is not chain. Earring is gold, but gold is not earring. Because if gold becomes earring, then what will be the bangle? Bangle is gold, gold is not bangle. Pot is clay, clay is not pot. Why? Because the clay can exist in the form of a vase, in the form of a ashtray, in the form, although nobody is using it these days, but still I have seen ashtrays made of clay because that is easier to craft apparently than the pot. So then you can look at a vase, and you can look at a flute made of clay. You can look at a Krishna figurine holding the flute, also made of clay. All this is clay, but clay is not any one of them. Similarly, all this is Brahman alone. Brahman cannot be confused for any one thing. In order to be everything, in order to lend its presence and its spurti, sentience to everything, it cannot be any one thing. Impossible. And this is exactly what is being pointed out. Yasmat vastunaha sakashat. From which vastu, this is yataha, it means yasmat vastunaha sakashat, from which entity, from which all pervasive conscious entity. Vachaha nivartante. All the words come back. Vachaha plural. So all the words come back. It's not singular, it's plural. Okay. So vachaha nivartante. They all come back. What do you mean they come back? Aprapya. Not having gained. Praptva, gaining. Aprapya, not gain. Why can't you say apraptva? Because that will not be correct, grammatically correct. The pratyaya, the suffix changes, and because there is a prefix. When the prefix is there, this particular suffix changes. Va becomes yap. And so anyway, aprapya, not having gained. All the words come back, beating a sad uh, retreat. Not having gained. Not having gained what? Not having gained the elusive entity in question, not having gained the vastu. Vastu means this thing which we likened to gold and clay in order to have a fuller understanding of how the clay sustains the entire world of earthenware without becoming anything, and the gold sustains the whole jewelry store, the world of ornaments, without becoming any one thing. Similarly, this Brahman, this Vastu, sustains everything, including speech, including the mind, without becoming any one of them. And so the mind and the speech, what do they want to do? They want to categorize everything. This is the tendency. That's why Brahman seems, oh, it is so elusive. It's not elusive at all. And it is you. It's not elusive. You are not elusive. You are very much present. Even when you say, I think I'm spaced out, that means you're not spaced out. That means you are conscious of being spaced out. You're not spaced out when you say, I'm spaced out. That means you are aware that the mind has gone away somewhere. You are very much there. Even when you say, I think I'm not present, that means you are present. You're present enough to say, I'm not present. Your presence alone is saying, I'm not present. So there's no absence. The self is never absent. Not at all, ever, not at all possible for the self to be absent. But what about in sleep? It is present. That's why you say, oh, I slept so well, I didn't know anything. Sleep is is a very interesting experience because it does not it cannot be live streamed by the atma cannot cognize it in real time. It is recognized in hindsight because the receptacle of cognition, namely the mind, is in a causal form. It is asleep. Later on, it recollects, and it is aware. Awareness does not go. Self is just awareness, and this Shuddha Chaitanya, this awareness does not go. Awareness without name and form never is absent. So, this awareness, how to understand? Gold, it is easy to understand. You can see that, oh, this is a big gold biscuit. What do you mean by a gold biscuit? That which doesn't go with tea. Okay. Yeah. So a gold biscuit means it is, you find it, at least in India, we have a kind of a stereotype, and it is there in Bollywood movies, in the hands of smugglers and everything. The fellow will be running with a big suitcase or a briefcase, and then the hero who happens to be a policeman. He says, stop in the name of the law, and then overpowers this fellow, the villain running away with a suitcase or a briefcase. And then, of course, the briefcase dramatically falls on the ground, opens itself up, and all these gold biscuits, fall out. And this is our stereotypical myth of whatever I have never seen a gold biscuit except in the movie, perhaps, but but somehow we can understand. Maybe it's a gold biscuit, or maybe it's a gold lump. And gold, of course, is difficult to think about it in some kind of an aggregate term outside of the ornaments, because nobody has had an experience with it. So better to come back to that's why we have clay example. So clay we have seen as a lump in the potter's shop or on the wayside somewhere when you dig up, some earth to for some construction or something. You have seen clay, red earth on the wayside somewhere or in the yard. You have seen it. And so from that clay can be in the form of a lump. It is amorphous. It has no particular shape, no particular form, and yet it is the cause of all forms. The mind is easy with this because the mind can objectify gold biscuit or molten gold, or the mind can objectify the dirt in the backyard, no problem. But what is the mind going to do? Please tell me, with this Brahman, which is everything, everywhere, at all times, without undergoing any change, and which is you. How do we go about objectifying the subject? This is the head scratching moment for the mind. And for Vak, Vak means speech. How do we objectify? How? Because the mind can only objectify the things that have shape, form, name. Speech also, okay. Speech can objectify that which has a name. It will call out the name of that object. The mind will objectify the object. And so here there is no object. There is no object. So suppose I ask you to visualize, I'll name a few things and I'll ask you to visualize them. And for this exercise, you can just close your eyes. It will only take 1 or 2 minutes. So you can visualize elephant. Whatever I say, just visualize. Elephant, computer, lamp, book, apple, consciousness, tree, sky, sun, pen, consciousness. Now you can open the eyes. So easy to see elephant. So easy to visualize pot or anything that was named computer, lamp, door, windows. And in the middle, if you put consciousness, it's blank. Why? Because it is you. Oh, that means it is non existent. No, it is blank because the world does not yield itself to objectification. Awareness. How do you objectify awareness? And that is the purport of this mantra, that the mind and the speech beat a sad retreat, not having gained uh, anything through the words or through the thoughts. What are the words meant for? If what does you want to reveal something like a pot. So the word must have any word. It should have a revelatory capacity. And the revelatory capacity, the technical term in uh, Sanskrit is Shabda Hetu, Shabda Pravritti Hetutvam. Shabda, words, Pravritti means the revealing, Hetutvam, the cause. Meaning any particular word should be available for any particular thing should be available for the verbal expression. It should have the accoutrements necessary for verbal expression. That is what is called Shabda Pravritti Hetutvam. It's a technical expression. Okay. So then, for a object to be revealed by a word, the Shabda Pravritti Hetutvam must be there. Now, now supposing there is a vastu, there is a entity that is beyond all the things which generally yield themselves to expression. Shabda pravritti hetutva is there. Here, for Brahman, there is no Shabda pravritti hetutvam, meaning the Brahman or Atma, awareness, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, the Ishvara does not lend itself to verbal expression, nor can it be enclosed as an object of thought. Why? Because it is not subject to jati. Jati means species. No jati is there. Like tree. What kind of tree? Oh, ficus tree. What kind of ficus? Ficus means fig. What kind of ficus tree? Ficus religiosa. That's a jati. This is a species. So this jati is not there. Awareness means what kind of jati? Please tell me how, at least minimum two should be there for a species. How many awarenesses are there? Well, as many as there are people in the universe. No, because that is not, there's only one awareness, many minds, many people. We saw this already through the gold ornament example. And so, therefore, it has no jati, and also it has no attributes. No jati, no attributes. And attributes means what? It's not an object. Only when it's an object, it has attributes. If it's not an object, then it will not have attributes. If it ceases to be an object, it cannot have attributes. No Vishesha. There is no way of describing it as an object. There is no way of saying, like supposing if I say, this is blue. So the blue means the blue should be belonging to a substantive, right? What are you talking of as blue? Ocean. Blue ocean. If I say, or a placid blue lake, so then the blueness here belongs to the lake. Or if I say blue forget me not fields of blue flowers, forget me not flowers, small blue flowers, then that also, then the blueness has gone as an attribute, it has gone with the flower. So then so therefore there is no, there is a, to recognize the attributes, you should have a substantive. Here the substantive is without attributes. So there is this, it cannot, there cannot be guna as a way of understanding this. There is no guna, no attributes. Okay, how are you going to objectify it? Then the third criterion of the objectification is kriya. First, this is exactly how, you introduce yourself to people, or people ask questions of you at parties. What is your name? Jati. First, they size you up. Okay, man, woman, and then what else? What is your name? And then you say, I'm so and so. Then what do you do? What is your specialty? What are you? Lawyer, engineer. This becomes the Vishesha Gunas. I am a homemaker. I'm a lawyer. I'm an engineer. I am taking a gap year. Sometimes students say that. I have graduated, but then I'm not yet doing the next thing that I would like to do. So then this is the next thing. And the third question is, what do you do? First, the Vishesha attributes. How many sisters do you have? What is your hometown's attributes? Then, what do you do? Kriya. Kriya. What do you do? And the Kriya is very, very interesting. And Kriya means it's like a run, talk, sit, eat, play, sleep. These are all Kriyas. And I tell you, if Brahman is going to do Kriyas, then that means what? It is subject to change. If Brahman starts running, it is subject to change. Because now it was still, now it is running. So any running that Brahman is doing is as though through your legs. That's what it is. As though running without really undergoing any change. It is just sustaining the running, but itself is not doing any running. It is free of running in order to show the motion of running, reveal that running. Okay. And then so there is no Kriya. Because the activity, Kriya means activity, action. So neither does it act on its own, nor does it cause something else to act. Na karoti, na karayati. Oh, but you just said it makes the legs run, but itself doesn't run. It doesn't make the legs run. Legs run because of so many other things. But it just lends as though its presence. In whose presence the legs run. That's a different thing from saying that Brahman is actually engaged in the action of making something happen. Like a mafia boss. Doesn't take care of any dirty work. Just looks at the henchman. There is some, what is that? Sidekick. Some sidekick will be there, highly paid, and then that one has to take care of all the dirty work. So we'll just look at the one person and then look at the sidekick, meaning I never see this person that I have just indicated with my eyes ever again. Make them disappear. This is how. But then the mafia boss slips away, but usually the henchman is arrested, indicted on the crime. The mafia boss slips away, but the mafia boss is the one who is guilty. But here, Brahman neither does nor causes anything to happen. And so there is no volition, there is no activity possible. And so, therefore, what? Then, if there is no activity, then what happens to all the factors of action? So, there is no first case, Brahman as agent of action. No. Then, Brahman as recipient of somebody else's action. Not possible. Because there is no other thing than Brahman. So, if you can't, the Brahman cannot be hit, kicked, nothing. And so, therefore, because there is nothing else other than Brahman. So the second case, the object case is gone, subject case is gone, the instrumental case, through Brahman something happens, nothing happens, that is also gone, tarakas are gone. For the sake of Brahman, somebody is doing this, there is nothing outside of Brahman. So no, there is no for the sake of Brahman. From Brahman something came, nothing came from Brahman. Oh, but you just said the whole world has come from Brahman, as though, okay, yeah, because there's no world really. There's only Brahman with so many names and forms. And so therefore the fifth case is gone, ablative case is gone, dative case, the fourth case is gone, and then the sixth case, what is that? Sambandha, possessive case. Possessive case is gone because nothing belongs to Brahman, and Brahman doesn't belong to anything, because there being no other entity than Brahman. Then the seventh case, in Brahman something exists. No, nothing exists in Brahman. As the the beginning verses of the ninth chapter, third and fourth verse, I think, make very, very clear. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshu avasthitah. And then again, Bhagavan Krishna immediately, as though contradicting himself, says, Nachamatstani bhutan. Pashyame yogamaishwaram. First, Matsthani bhutani, it's all as though everything is in me, but I'm not in any one of them. And then what do you mean everything is in me? If I say everything is in me, then there is still two entities, Ashraya and Ashrita. That which becomes a refuge and things that are taking refuge in me. There's no such thing. Look at this magic, oh Arjuna, very beautifully said. And then, so the seventh case is gone, and so the karaka, all the karakas means the factors in action are not there because there is no kriya. Kriya rahityam leads to karaka rahityam eva. That is what we are talking about. No sambandha, no connection, and then finally no connection with everything, anything. Jati, guna, kriya, sambandha, the four factors which give the shabda, which give words the power of expression. Shabda pravritti hetutvam is gained from these four things. Jati, guna, kriya, sambandha, nouns, and then adjective, guna, kriya, verbs, and then connections, sambandha. Sambandha means what? From the standpoint of the vastu, everything is a non-entity. So between an entity and a non-entity, what kind of a connection can be there? The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a little pea green boat. And what did they take? They took some honey. And then what else did they take? And some money wrapped in a 5-pound note. Like this, there is some kind of a poem. So that itself is a bizarre poem. Because some cats polish off owls, so and some big owls can polish off cats. So we don't even know who is the predator and who is the prey here. But still, here there is a very funny kind of a connection. So the connection between Vastu and Avastu is like this. Vastu swallows up everything. There is no such thing called Avastu. And so there cannot be any connection. It's the kind of a friendship that you can have between you and your shadow. What kind of a connection is there? The shadow is a sad little meme. It is a non-entity. You are the one casting it. And so it is nothing without you. So there cannot be any connection between Brahman and the world. Although the world is Brahman, Brahman is nothing to do with the world. Brahman is not the world. And so therefore, from the standpoint of what we call the Vastu, everything else is a non-Vastu, because the connection is possible only for things belonging to the same order of reality. And so the connection here is denied. And so this kind of a Brahman we have to reveal through what? Words, through the mind. No, not possible. That is all that is saying. And so sometimes you may say, where the words cannot go. Words cannot go some places, but the mind can go there. Like what? Words cannot objectify feelings such as love. You have a word called love, but then when you're overcome with love, or you're just moved by by a friend's gesture in your life, they went out of the way to do something for you, and you are so moved, there is no expression for that. But there is no verbal expression, but the mind and can objectify. No, it is there in the mind. Similarly, like certain things like taste, sweet. There is a word called sweet, but you can't express the meaning of sweet through words. Sweet. Supposing if there's somebody from Mars comes here, they don't know, and you give them a piece of chocolate cake as a welcome, some dish. You give them some dish. They say, "What is this?" Let's say you can have some communication, and then you say it is sweet. What is sweet? You can't explain what is sweet, even the basic thing. But you can experience it through the mind. You can know definitely with the mind. Okay, this thing is sweet. This thing is not. So even though through the sense organs, the tongue, etc., the mind has got access to certain things, even though the words cannot express. So, like this, many things are there. When you are in a meditative state, the kind of changes the mind has undergone as a result of a very powerful meditation session, again, cannot be put into the words, but you understand through the mind. You have a certain peace that is beyond expression. And so therefore, the mind and the accomplice and its accomplice, the Vak, are the greatest of friends. Greatest of friends. They rely on each other all the time. And in fact, a very good way to look at this, their teamwork, is to see them as, as a lame person riding on the shoulders of a blind person. Lame person cannot walk, and the blind person cannot see. So the one who can walk is walking, but then the lame person can see. So the lame person is sitting on the shoulder and saying, "No, no, no! You are going to crash into a tree. It will be the end of both of us. Turn back. Take a left here." No, 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 not here. 3 steps are there. Count 1, 2, 3. Ah, okay, you're in the clear. I'm telling you, you'll have us both killed. Come on, listen. And then what does the blind person say? Shut up. Without me, you don't even have a chance of getting there. This is their camaraderie. They have a very interesting interdependence, just like the mind and speech. They have the same kind, they have a same kind of an accomplice. They are both accomplices of each other. And what is that? Accessories after the fact. I have never understood that expression, so I'm not going to try now. But anyhow, we understand what that means. So each one is a culprit, and they both come back. Why? Because they are unable to objectify Brahman. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha. They both come back. Why did they come back? Because they were unable to understand the truth of oneself as an object, because they were themselves in the way. You cannot objectify the subject. This is what they encounter. And then all they know is how to objectify. And an entity that is free of name, form, free of attributes, free of action, and free of any connection, it is very, very impossible to objectify such an entity. And so, therefore, what? They come back shamefaced, sad faced. Then it says, Anandam Brahmano Vidvan. Brahmanaha Anandam. So Brahmanaha Anandam, even though there is the sixth case there, it means it is the Swarupa of Brahman itself. That Anandam is Anantyam, the limitlessness, which is the manifestation of Brahman. This is Brahmanaha Anandam. Anandam Brahmano Vidvan. Tasya Brahmanaha Vidvan. Vidvan means here not a jnani. Why? Because the Dvaita is not, the duality has not yet been fully conquered. It is cognitively, it is on the way to being the falsified. So, Vidwan here means Brahmanaha, Upasakaha, a worshipper, a devotee of Bhagavan. Upasakaha. Okay. Why? Because we are talking of Manomaya. And therefore, the Vidwan, Manomayatvena, in the form of Hiranyagarbha, the collective mind, the one that is making all the minds into minds. This, and then this is this Vidwan, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. And then this is the Hiranyagarbha Upasana, worship, or what is that? Adoration, we can say, worship, we can say, of Bhagavan in the form, in the subtle form of the mind, the collective mind, so to speak. Ayam Manomayaha. And what is the understanding, and what does the worship, what form does it take? This Manomaya is not separate from Ishvara in the form of Hiranyagarbha. This is the worship. The worship is that of the Vyashti, the person who is endowed with the body-mind's individual body-mind sense complex, connecting to the Samashti, the total mind. The individual mind connects to the total mind. This is Manomaya Upasana of Brahman as the truth of all minds. This is Samanya, okay? Just like in Pranamaya we did this, in Annamaya we did this same thing. Yaha upaste, the one who worships, then upasana of what? Param Brahma, Bhagavan, in the form of what? Manomaya, because the context is Manomaya. Sana vibheti, that person is no longer afraid. No longer afraid. Why? Because whatever you are afraid of is included in this Ishvara in the form of Hiranyagarbha. And that Hiranyagarbha includes you, it includes all the things that you are afraid of. Okay? And then, so therefore what? And then the next, so the next step in this understanding is to say that you are this Hiranyagarbha, you are Parmeshwara, you have to think like that. But right now it is only in the form of Upasana. That understanding has not come. It is just a worship. So I am included in Parameshwara, like this the person thinks, and then the same Brahman, this Antakarana Avachinna Chaitanya, meaning this consciousness which is as though conditioned by my mind, endowed with my mind, is the same as Samashti, Samashti Atma, called Hiranyagarbha, that same Chaitanya. That same consciousness, endowed with the power to create, endowed with the potential to create, is called Hiranyagarbha, and the two are one. This Hiranyagarbha, since it is everything, it is also there in my mind, it is also there in my heart, it is there in everybody's heart. There's only one Hiranyagarbha. This oneness is there. This Vyashti, Samashti, Bheda is there, difference is there, and the non difference is also understood as a possibility, as a potential. The non difference is contemplated upon. Same thing in prana. That Vyashti, Samashti, Bheda, Abheda is there. See, this is how all these various. I mean, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's okay. We deserve a little break. Okay, so we have been studying very hard on this. So, this is how all these isms come in. Because we take the partial, we see the Bheda, and then we see the difference, and then we see the non-difference, and somebody came up with a difference, non-difference, Vada. Bheda, 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 Abheda, Vada. And then, this is just looking at the part of something and then thinking it to be the whole, not going all the way, stuck in this particular iteration, stuck in this particular, we are not opposed to Bheda and Abheda. We see the difference, we see the non-difference. We are not opposed to that difference. We explain the difference. We don't explain it away. We explain the difference by understanding the truth as the non-difference and the difference as a manifestation, as an as though manifestation. But if you don't do that, then one gets stuck up in some level or the other, and then you say Bheda, Bheda, and then this and that, and all kinds of things. And so, therefore, we have to be very careful here. So, then here, Brahma Upasate, this Brahma Upasana is there. So, at this level, this is worship of Brahman. And then, so what is the phala of this? Brahmalokam gatva na bibheti. Let's say if this is earnestly done, if this particular what is that called upasana, meditation is done, visualization slash meditation worship is done with a sincere heart, then what happens? You go to Brahmaloka after casting off this body, and there you are never afraid. As Pujya Swamiji would describe Brahmaloka, there are no bugs and no bugging people either. Nobody bothers you. Why don't they bother? Are they all good? No, because you have left your core issues. Where? In the subtle body. You haven't taken it to Brahmaloka, because there is a pause, there is a cessation of the core issues when you are in Brahmaloka. The core issues are just packed up and kept in the subtle body, they don't activate. So you get along with everybody gets along with you. It's like a pleasant will. Everybody is pleasant all the time. It's just all wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, beautiful. No mosquitoes, no dengue fever, and no fear of anything, no malaria, nothing, and no corona, no viruses, no pandemic. And therefore there is no fear. This is the prasada of Manomaya. More we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaga Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. One small announcement before you go. Bodhasara will not take place tomorrow. Okay? Yeah. So, not tomorrow, tonight for you all. For those who are in America, it is tonight, and so no Bodhasara class. Can somebody volunteer to log on and tell people who are not here, perhaps for 5 minutes? Can somebody do that?
Yes, Swamini.
At the appointment.
I will do, Swamini.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. So just tell the people that it is not going to be there, but the rest of the weekend we will have Mundakopanishad on Sunday, and we will also have the Taittiriya class on Sunday.